Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Marvel Fatigue.
Yes.
Marvel Fatigue. Basically, everybody is tired of crappy Marvel movies and crappy Marvel Disney Plus shows.
I think they're just tired in general because you used to be you get a movie like once a year, maybe twice a year. Now it's like there's 4 movies a year and there's like 5 shows and everything else.
Every character gets their own Disney Plus show. Where's the Ned spinoff from Spider-Man? We haven't seen
people
Ned.
have asked for that actually. They said they should do a Wong and Ned show.
Wong and Ned? Is Wong and Ned the new Austin and Ally, like a Disney Channel show?
I don't know.
Oh my god, I could just see them like the theme song in the beginning. They're getting ice cream together and making circles together.
If loving Ned is wrong, Wong doesn't want to be right.
That's what you call it. Wong doesn't want to be right.
Or loving Ned is Wong. He doesn't want to be right.
Anyway, let's talk about this because they've been trying to deny that there are problems with Marvel. On Pirates and Princesses, we did an article a couple months ago talking about.
That was a lot more than a couple months ago. Yes.
A couple times too. But Screen Rant, Daily Beast, The Wrap, several news outlets saying that Phase 4 is dead on arrival, that things are not going very well for them. And, I have to think the pressure is going to be on Kevin Feige because there's this whole Disney boardroom thing going on with Ike Perlmutter.
Ike Perlmutter. And he would have been working with him.
Yes.
Originally.
Yeah, and Ike Perlmutter, the word is that Ike Perlmutter was not happy with the direction of Phase 4, that they wanted to bring in all these failing Marvel Comics characters and swap out all the Avengers for stand-ins, and he didn't think that was going to work very well. Now, this is a guy who's been in charge of Marvel for years, who oversaw the toy line back in the day, and he knew what characters were popular and what characters weren't popular. But, apparently Kevin Feige and Bob Iger got together and pushed out Ike Perlmutter. Now he's bringing his friends back to try to take over the board.
Well, to be fair, I did disagree with him that girl figures wouldn't sell because I think they would. But
some of them, it depends on the characters.
Right.
If they're good characters like Storm and Phoenix, and they'll sell. Psylocke, original Psylocke. Kick-ass Psylocke, not whatever the hell she is.
Captain Marvel, they have dust in the boxes at the Disney store in Walt Disney World.
Also, Marvel's Katie. Marvel's Katie. Not just Katie, it's Marvel's Katie. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this. Kevin Feige is responding to superhero fatigue. Now, this guy's had his teeth pulled out. He's got his writers on She-Hulk making fun of him. He's got no power.
Well, she was joking that she can do whatever she wants because she was bullying him.
Yes! This guy's a pussy.
That's what she said,
Pretty
basically.
Much. That's what she said. He's a pussy.
She would know.
Let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 288, almost 289,000 subs. Woo! Thank you so much for the support. Greatly appreciated. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're still subscribed. You want to get each and every delectable episode of Clownfish TV.
Yeah, that makes me want to puke.
So let's talk about Kevin Feige and Marvel Fatigue. Marvel Fatigue. While on a podcast nobody probably listened to. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige addressed the idea of superhero fatigue.
They're talking about how the media has been mentioning it. They're talking about how they've done polls with people, and people are just kind of getting tired of Marvel. It's just too much.
Yep. So. This was the Movie Business Podcast. Marvel Studios Kevin Feige talked about how the Hollywood giant navigates creating the MCU's various phases and how he feels regarding the superhero fatigue. When asked how Marvel Studios decides on what their phases will be, Feige was quick to point out the 80-plus years of Marvel comic history as their guide, but we're only going to reference the last, 10.
Right, and whatever new characters we've inserted. And when it doesn't stick in comics, no matter how many times we rebooted it, we're just going to slap it up on the screen.
Yep. So it's not about the multiverse saga. There are 2 ways to do it. We look at an overarching narrative. There was no overarching. They're in the Star Wars.
Not in Phase 4 there wasn't.
Not in Phase 4. Always
they had meetings afterwards for Phase 5, though.
Yeah, right. Always using the comics and the 80-plus years of Marvel comic history as our guide. Bullshit. What you're doing now is all the shit that failed in the last 10 to 15 years.
Right. You tried to sell it as comics. You rebooted it how many times people didn't buy it. These characters they didn't like, and so now you're just going to shove them down their throat on the big screen.
If you were actually concerned about that, you would pick the best stories from the 80-year history of Marvel. You would do proper X-Men, do a proper Dark Phoenix saga. Mm-hmm. This is it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So anyway, this is what he said about Fatigue. He said, I've been at Marvel Studios for 22 years, over 22 years, and most of us here at Marvel have been around a decade or longer. And from probably my second year at Marvel, people were asking, how long is this going to last? Is this a fad of comic book movies? Is it going to end? I didn't really understand the question because to me it was akin to saying after Gone with the Wind, well, how many more movies can be made off of novels?
Well, that's stupid. That's not the same thing.
That's not the same thing. He's like, dancing around.
That's a very generalized, like, this is a very specific thing, but I'm going to give you an answer about something general. Like, how many more superhero movies can we make? Well, that's the same thing as saying, how many novels can we make into films? And I'm like, well, those are two different things.
Yeah. They're like, well, how many more stories are there? Well, you would never ask that because there is an inherent understanding among most people that a book can be anything, a novel can have any type of story whatsoever. Depends on what story you're translating.
It basically, I'll summarize. How many more stories? As much as we can make money out of until Disney stops making them because they aren't making money.
God, this guy's been with Disney too long. This is a very Disney answer. There are 80 years of the most interesting, emotional, groundbreaking stories that have been told in Marvel Comics, and it's our great privilege to be able to take that and adapt it.
How many times has he said 80 years?
Why aren't you adapting the greatest stories of all time? And even the ones you do adapt, you do a half-assed job of it. You make alterations.
Yeah, you change characters for no damn good reason.
Change characters for no reason, change plot points for no reason. And again, it looks to me like they're just looking back at the last 10 years and being like, yeah, let's do some Ms. Marvel.
And when were their sales falling off a cliff?
2017. It was so bad that the mainstream media had to call it out and be like, why did you switch all the Avengers out with stand-ins all at once? And
let's double down the stupidity.
Race-bend characters, make Iceman gay for no reason. Iceman was a playboy for years. Now all of a sudden he's gay, which makes no sense. Not just gay, but flamboyantly gay.
Well, they obviously can't run that comic in any place but the Western countries because it'll get banned in China.
All right. He went on to point out that adapting these stories into different genres is
that's what's funny to me.
It's also a key way to keep the content fresh and avoid fatigue. Another way to do that is adapting them into different genres and what types of movies we want to make. And I, from sitting at USC, probably semester 2 before your screenwriting class, Jason saying Cinema 101 being exposed to somebody, blah, 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 I'm qualified. I want
to make all the movies.
I want to make all of these. I don't want to just make one kind of movie. I want to make all kinds of movies. And I found if we tell the story right and we adapt them in the way that the audience will still, knock on wood so far, is following us along. They're not. They're admitting that they're basically like, let's do a rom-com, but let's do a Marvel-flavored rom-com. Let's do horror, but do a Marvel-flavored horror, which sometimes it works, and that worked in comics.
Horror, not horror.
Horror. Marvel horror.
But you know what's funny though is it's not working, and basically it's like, well, it's okay. We can just we'll just keep doing more Marvel movies. We'll just make them a little different. We're making Werewolf by Night, which is more of a horror, and it was actually pretty good though. And
Werewolf by Night was decent.
We're gonna do some of these things, and since we slap a different genre on it, it's like the multiverse where we could just keep telling more stories. And the thing is, people don't care because you're still saying there's an overarching story plot for Phase 5. So you have to watch everything. And people are tired of watching it. That's the point. They don't want to watch anymore.
I mean, again, Marvel, 80 years of history. People were not tired of Marvel comics for the longest time. It wasn't until the last 10 years, actually, I'd say, under Disney, that people are really getting tired of Marvel comics,
it wasn't even until recent when it became like with Disney Plus. Then it just became, it was already a lot. But it was still, doable. And then when you got Disney Plus, and now there's like a show every other month on top of all the movies. Yeah, you don't have to pay extra for those other than your subscription service. But it's still a time sink, and it's not a 2-hour time sink. Now it's like a 10-hour time sink.
And it's required viewing. They made it out originally like the Disney Plus shows were going to be sort of like an extra thing, right? Like a miniseries, like a comic book miniseries that you could follow or not follow, whatever. It was a side story, whatever. But they made it required viewing. That was by design. Basically, if you want to enjoy the movies and understand what's going on in the movies, you have to invest all this time into the Disney Plus shows. Kind of like how Disney was trying to trick Star Wars fans into buying the novels to find out what the First Order actually was, because they never explain it in the damn movies.
Right. Well, I mean, Disney's doing it too with Star Wars. I mean, the same thing that happens to Marvel with the fatigue is happening to Star Wars. And what I'm thinking, what it reminds me of, one time I saw a thing and they were talking about if you wanted to stop eating something that something that you like a trigger, it makes you eat all the time, like the chocolate or whatever, and you want to lose weight. What they say to do is to just go get all the chocolate you can find and just eat all of it. Just keep eating it till you get sick of it, and then you won't want it anymore ever again because you'll associate it with being sick. That's what they're doing with Marvel in Star Wars.
To this day, I will not eat black bean salsa.
Yes, it's true.
It's one of the sickest I've ever been. It was, well, it's pretty
I don't think it was the salsa's fault, but you happen to be sick at the same time.
When it comes out your nose on multiple occasions for days, you won't want to eat it anymore.
No.
And I will not eat black bean salsa anymore because of that.
My point stands, though. It's like they tell you that if you want to quit like smoking or quit something, and they tell you do till you get
Donald
sick.
Duck with Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Make him smoke as many cigars.
Until you get sick, and then you get sick, your body will like, nope, I'm rejecting that. But that's kind of what they're doing. They're feeding you so much Marvel and so much Star Wars, and not even the good kind. Like, it used to be like, this is grade A, and now you're getting like, it's almost all fat and scraps, and they're still shoving it down your throat. It's like,
Went from steak to Oscar Mayer.
Oh, so it's like the great outdoors. If I can get that, I can get the fat and gristle down his throat. We get a t-shirt for the kids. It's like that. But it's like, but they're making people sick. Like, people are just sick of it. They're sick of the bad quality. They're sick of there's just too much of it, and you can't pick and choose. And you can, but it's going to be confusing later on. And it's too much.
Is that going to be Wong and Ned's superhero names, Fat and Gristle?
I don't think so.
Like, hey, if you can muscle through the 23 hours of Fat and Gristle, then that explains all the crap that's going to happen in Secret Wars.
That was mean.
5 years.
Which one's fat? Which one's
I
gristle?
don't know. You have to watch to find out. But yeah, it's like, there's too much of the subpar stuff. Like Multiverse of Madness. We watched WandaVision. I actually didn't mind WandaVision. I thought it was okay.
It was the first one before they started like open your mouth and shoving it in.
Yeah, so 2 episodes into Loki, I noped out. 1 episode into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I noped out. It was boring. I did watch all of Hawkeye, but that was a chore. But Hawkeye, I didn't think was completely terrible, but it was still like pulling. Like, this could have, again, all of these could have been a self-contained movie. You could have done the same thing.
That's just it. It's just too much. It's like they try to do a series, and it goes from being 2 or 3 hours to being like, 10 hours, and it's too much.
So you go see Multiverse of Madness, and people are completely lost because they're like, whoa, what's up with the Scarlet Witch and her kids? What's up with that?
She has
like,
kids?
Did I miss some movie? It feels like I missed
kids
a
are
movie.
dead?
Yeah, it's like I felt
Someone
like
killed kids?
It's like I felt like I missed something. And the same thing is going to happen with Ant-Man, because they're like, who's Kang? What's the deal with Kang? Because they introduced him in Loki, but...
Which we didn't watch all of.
No, I got bored. I mean, geez, Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson, I'm like, you think that would be fun to watch, but like 2 episodes in, I'm like, nah, I'm bored. I'm just really bored. I'm bored of all of it.
I think that's what's going on. And they said when they're doing these like surveys, people are just bored and they're tired of it, and it's too much. And I would say the exact same thing is happening with Star Wars. Quality is declining.
Yes.
Interest is declining. And people are just, you only can eat like steak so long.
You can only eat so much Ned
You can only eat.
before you're full.
Yeah, that's right.
But beyond that, like, it's just like the budgets are going to drop. The budget's going to drop on this stuff.
Well, yeah, they have to cut
On top of everything else, they're going to start cutting budgets because Disney doesn't have the money.
And then you have the special effects houses being like, we don't want to work with Disney.
We're on strike, we don't want to work on, so they're going to do more cheap stuff. So it might be Wong and Ned, but without magic, because that costs money. Just like Perfect Strangers. But that's okay, because you can tell.
Kind of funny.
You can tell different kinds of stories. So if we want to do a sitcom with a laugh track, well, they kind of did WandaVision, but an actual sitcom with a laugh track, we'll just take their magic away. We'll come up with some stupid reason, and we'll just stick these 2 guys in an apartment and film it. And
they trapped them. Was it when they had the Mirrorverse or whatever?
Oh yeah.
They're trapped in there and they can't use powers outside of it or whatever. And so, or they're training in there, so they don't use powers that much. When they do, it's lame. And there you go. And I like the Perfect Strangers thing. That'd be hilarious, actually.
Oh, God.
You're giving them ideas.
I'm giving them ideas, and I need to stop because they'll do it.
Like this video needs to stop.
All right, we're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.